Boom! Welcome, people, to episode 2 of the Gun Shop Talk podcast with yours truly, Big Luch, and brought to you by the Armament Factory. Right, we've got a couple of topics we want to talk about today. Obviously, being the Champions League week, we're going to mainly talk about the Champions League games Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to start off with Arsenal beating Atleti, that is Atletico Madrid, Diego Simeone's team. Then we'll move on to how far can Arsenal go in the Champions League. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about the rest of the games that happened on both Tuesday and Wednesday. And then we'll finish it off with the last topic, which is the news of the rest of the world. Let's get into it. Arsenal beating Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid, also known as Atleti. They played them on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. at the London Emirates Stadium. So let's talk a little bit about the game, guys. I did a watch along, so you can go back and watch that and see how I react to that game. Obviously, the second half was much greater. But let's just talk about the game. So it started off at 8 p.m. at the London Emirates Stadium. I was a little bit worried. I'm going to be honest with you guys. My worry stems from Atletico having beaten Real Madrid 5-2 a couple of weeks ago. And I mean, it's been a bit of a mixed bag with them. They lost at Liverpool 3-2 at Anfield in the Champions League as well. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag with them, but I was worried because they're a very strong, physical, free-flowing, high-paced football team. And they don't always do too bad against English teams. And also at the same time, they have been to several finals in the recent years. So, and they've obviously won La Liga once or twice in the recent years as well. So Diego Simeone obviously has got a well-drilled European team. They've got European heritage as well. They've been in the Champions League for many seasons now. Like I said, reaching the finals, semi-finals, so on and so forth. So they're not no mugs. That's what I was trying to get at. They're not no mugs. They're not a joke. They know how to play football. But and that's what had me worried a little bit before the game. But once the game started, the first half kicked off, and I saw how we were playing, and I saw how we were defending. And obviously our defense being one of the best in Europe, if not the world at the moment. But I leave it to you guys to comment on that. Having the best defense and seeing how they were playing and seeing how they were varying with the attackers, I started feeling slightly better. Although the first half wasn't great, I'll be honest. The first half reminded me a lot of the first half against Fulham. Very slow, just playing it out the back, just playing it amongst the back four, looking for the gap behind the lines, trying to thread it through to one of the attackers, which didn't always work out, as in the first half, Atleti was also doing a great job trying to defend us as well. So it was very slow, very sloppy. We lost the ball here and there, but we did have a better first half than them. Their first half was worse than ours. So the way we coped with them made me feel a lot better. Made me feel like, okay, we can get something out of this game. Possibly a 1-0 similar to Fulham, or maybe even if they go ahead 1-0 up, for example, we might do one of those ones against Newcastle where we get back in the last minutes, or we get a last minute winner or whatever, something like that. But I felt like we could definitely get something out of the game. But once the second half started, I'll be honest with you, once the second half started, all my worries, all my paranoia, everything just faded, because for some reason, it wasn't the same Atletico Madrid that came out the second half, or it wasn't the same Arsenal that came out the second half, because the second half was a stark contrast to what the first half was. The boys came out with, and it started from the front, I'll say. I'm not even going to say from the back with the goalkeeper. No, it actually started from the front with Victor Gyökeres. His press became much stronger, much more intense. His runs became more intense. He looked angry. He seemed like he was very frustrated. And that kind of went down the lines all the way to the back, where everybody started improving their runs, their pressing, keeping possession as well. All of that. It kind of improved on the first half. I'm not saying that the first half was absolutely terrible, because at the same, although I wasn't really comfortable with the first half, we did have maybe, 5, 6, 7 shots on target. It took us shaking off the first half to come out and be more dominant in the second half. And I felt like that is exactly what happened. Arsenal came out, dominated more, kept possession more, passed it better, got behind the lines better. Martinelli in that pocket all the times, and Martinelli as well had an absolutely fantastic game. But we'll talk about the players towards the end. So the second half was a stark contrast to the first half, guys. An absolute different game. Arsenal came out and started playing much better. I don't know if Atletico's levels dropped, but they just didn't look the same in the second half. They couldn't keep their composure. They couldn't keep hold of the ball. Throughout the whole game, I must say, they only had one shot on target, and that shot came in the second half. I was hoping that Arsenal can go 3 consecutive games without conceding a shot on target, because we didn't concede it against West Ham, we didn't concede it against Fulham, but we ended up conceding 1 against Atleti, which is also still very, very good, guys. Actually, it's unbelievable, guys. For Arsenal, for any football team to go 3 games and only conceding 1 shot on target, that's very impressive. For any team, even if it wasn't Arsenal, if it was any other team, I would have said the same thing. That's well impressive, conceding 1 shot on target. So that was the second half. So the second half, that was first half. So second half, once it started, Arsenal got into their rhythm. They got into their flow. They started playing a little bit better. The passes started becoming better as well. But around, I'd say, maybe between the 55th and the 60th minute, don't quote me on the minutes of the goals, guys. It's all a blur for me right now. But at one point, we got a free kick. So what happened with this free kick, which I found very impressive, Martinelli had the ball, or was running towards a ball that was a 50-50 ball between him and another defender. I don't remember who it was, so let me not just say a random name. I don't remember who it was, but what Martinelli cleverly did is put his foot in between the player and the ball to shield the ball, and that drew the foul as the player came in slightly too hard and too fast. That drew the foul for Arsenal in a very clever or very dangerous area, and obviously us being known as set piece FC at the moment, obviously Declan Rice took it upon himself again to take the free kick, and we know why, because his delivery system is pinpoint precision. So he stood up and took the free kick, and he saw the run from none other than Big Gabriel Magliash. He made that run through the middle of the box and somehow got his head on it, and it was 1-0 to the Arsenal guys. And from there, once that goal went in, it's like someone turned the tap on and the goals started flowing. Now, not long after, so the goals came very rapid, one after another, and then we had a long gap again with no action or no goals and nothing happening. So it was between, I'd say, the 55th to the 65th or 70th minute. Within that sort of 15-minute period, 12 to 15-minute period, I'd say all goals were scored. So it was Big Gabby first on a set piece from Declan Rice. The second goal was none other than another Gabriel Martinelli. Now, what was impressive about this goal, I must say, yes, the goal from Martinelli was impressive, but the assist came from an 18-year-old Miles Lewis Skelly. Now, I'm going to keep reiterating this about Miles Lewis Skelly. His ceiling is incredibly high. Incredibly high. He's only 18 years old, and he's keeping big man out of the team. He's keeping Calafiori out of the team. I know Calafiori has been playing, and you would have thought that he would have started against Atletico Madrid, but Miles Lewis Skelly came on, started that game, finished that game, got an assist, and showed the whole world that, look, I'm 18, but I can play amongst men, no problem. His physicality, his strength, his runs. Now, that's what I was going to talk about. So the goal came from a major run from Miles Lewis Skelly. So the ball got played to him by Zubamendi within the Arsenal half, but the center circle. So he was inside the center circle, but in the Arsenal half. So in our own half. Gets the ball played from Zubamendi, I believe it was, and just took it upon himself. He saw the gap, he saw the space, and just started bombing forward with the ball. At one point, one of the midfielders tried to tackle Miles Lewis-Skelly. He just fended him off with his hand. You can go back and watch the replay. That strength, that powerfulness, that power that he had to just shrug off that midfielder or defender, whatever it was, and carry on the run. And then not only just carry on the run, he timed the pass to perfection, that through ball. Because a lot of times last season and the season before, which thank God it hasn't happened this season yet, but I felt like Martinelli's runs were not timed correctly. A lot of the time he got caught offside. However, this time Miles Lewis-Skelly saw it, and Martinelli as well held his run a few seconds before the pass got taken. So as soon as he saw Miles Lewis-Skelly make that pass, make that through ball, he carried on that run, got into the box and just opened up his body to bend it into the bottom right corner. Very Henry-esque type of goal. I'm not saying that he's on the level, obviously, of Thierry Henry, but the goal was Thierry Henry-esque or ish, and it was absolutely wonderful. So the second goal from another Gabriel Martinelli this time, and obviously with the assist from Miles Lewis-Skelly, which was absolutely wonderful. An unbelievable assist and an unbelievable goal, guys. Unbelievable. So that was the second goal. Then not long after, again, Arsenal on the attack. Like I said, the second half was a huge difference from the first half. It was just at one point, it was attack after attack, just the waves. It was like a tsunami coming in, a red and white tsunami, just bombarding Oblak and the Atleti defense. So at one point again, I think Martinelli was on the left-hand side, somehow tried to cross it in or pass it into the box to someone. It ended up falling to Eze, or coming to Eze, who tried to take a shot, sort of miskicked it, and then the ball got to Gyökeres right by the 6-yard box. It was stuck in between his feet. He had to get it out of his feet, and he managed to do that and tapped it in for the third goal. He didn't want to celebrate straight away. I did hear him talk to Micah Richards in an interview after the game with CBS Sport Golazo, talking about he obviously gets worried with the offsides and things like that, and the flag going up after the goal gets scored, that he didn't want to celebrate immediately, but eventually his teammates encouraged him to, and he celebrated it, and it was wonderful, and it made him happy. But I felt the anger from Gyökeres. I felt the frustration, and I like that. That is a good sign to have in a striker, that when he's droughting, he's not just sulking and not trying to do anything about it, or trying to get out of the team, faking an injury, or the management is claiming an injury just for him to get off and settle down during training first before putting him back out onto the pitch. So he's just shrugging it all off, all the bad press, all the criticism, all these opposition fans talking nonsense about him. He's shrugging it off. And look, I haven't been his biggest advocate since he's come over. From the first game, I was severely worried when I saw the way he played. It didn't really remind me of these great strikers that, hit the ground running as soon as they come at a club. So we tried to give him time. Then game after game after game, it didn't look like it was getting better. Then I remember against Newcastle, I don't know exactly what it was, but I felt like in that game something clicked, and it just got better from there. Although, the goals weren't coming in, but his play, his runs, his hold up, and you can say that's not what you want from a striker, but that is what you want from a striker. It's not only goals. It's more to it than that. It's not just a donkey standing by the goal and you give him the ball, and he has more to do than that. So that was Gyökeres' first goal, our third. And then again, not long after, I believe it was a corner this time. Again, Declan Rice. Again, Gabriel Magalhaes. I'm not sure exactly how to say his name, but I'm going to say Magalhaes. Not long after that, again, a set piece or a corner this time from Declan Rice. Again, to find Gabriel making a run at the back post. Spotted that very well. And this time, Gabriel, instead of trying to aim it for the goal, very cleverly passed it across, or squared it across the 6-yard box to find Gyökeres standing in front of goal, and this time, similar to Leandro Trossard, just kind of thied the ball into the net. So that was Gyökeres' second, Arsenal's fourth. After that, it kind of just settled down. Arsenal made changes. Gabby came off. A few other players came off. Eze, Zubimendi, Norgard came on. Wanyeri came on, had an excellent game. So changes were made, and the game just kind of settled back down to how it was in the first half, or towards the end of the first half. So it's just basically just playing football, not creating much chances. I mean, at that time, Atleti weren't creating much anymore. They had one or two corners. I told you they did get that one shot on target out of all the chances they had. I believe they had maybe 8-9 chances, maybe more than that throughout the whole game. But when I say chances, you're talking about like half chances, chances that just fizzled down. Nothing concrete, nothing solid, nothing where you thought, ooh, that, And there was one actually in the first half. There was one incident. Was it in the first half? Maybe in the second half, actually. There was one incident with David Raya that was a bit worrying, and I hope he shrugs that off and gets that out of him, out of his system, that he doesn't do things like that anymore. But he somehow wanted to let a ball go out for a corner. So he was trying to kind of protect it, but the Atleti player came to try and grab it off of him. So then he got worried and started shielding it. Anyway, the ball ended up going for a throw to Atleti. The Atleti player quickly threw it to Alvarez. David Raya had to run back towards his goal, so the goal was empty. He had to run back towards the goal to make sure that Alvarez doesn't score. Alvarez took the shot. Luckily for Arsenal this time, and luckily for David Raya, it went just wide of the post, but that could have been very dangerous, guys. I don't think at the time we had scored yet, but I might be wrong. Like I said, everything is a blur to me now. I didn't actually go back and watch it again or anything like that, but yeah, that was a bit of a tense situation where I kind of got worried, and I thought, what is David Raya doing? But other than that, anytime he was called upon, anytime there was a shot or anything like that, he was there. He saved it. He was covering the goal by all the time. So we didn't have an issue, just that one incident, and he shrugged that one off. He did put his hand up and apologize and said, sorry, I shouldn't have done that. But these things happen. So after that, not long left after that, the game finished, and that's it. Arsenal won 4-0, guys. So it was Arsenal 4, Atleti Madrid 0. Diego Simeone, very humble at the end of the game, every interview, because I always look at what the opposition manager's going to say about Arsenal, about the game. I always look forward to that. And Diego Simeone had one post-match interview with Amazon, I believe it was. And the lady was asking him about Arsenal and about the game. And he said, yeah, look, the best team won. Arsenal are incredible. They've got incredible talent all across the pitch there. And to hear that from Diego Simeone, who's not always complimentary about the opposition, like all the time. He's always more trying to defend his own players, win or loss. He's always just talking about his own. But it felt like he was really admiring what Mikel Arteta has built at Arsenal from the defense all the way forward. He was well impressed, and that makes me slightly more happier, because Diego Simeone is not an easy manager to impress. He's not an easy manager to come out and say, that is an excellent group of players. That is an unbelievable group of players. That is a well-drilled, well-oiled machine that will more than likely, hopefully, fingers crossed, dominate English and European football for the next couple of years, as the team is fairly young. So that's it, guys. That is Arsenal versus Atleti, or Arsenal versus Atletico Madrid. It was an excellent game. Like I said, I was nervous in the first half, but the second half, they put my mind to rest, or to ease, and it was a totally different game, and we laid the smackdown on Atleti. So that's it. Let's go to the next topic, guys. I'll see you. Ooh. Right, so this topic is, how far can Arsenal really go in the Champions League, or how far can Arsenal go in the Champions League? Now, the obvious answer is they can go all the way. The obvious answer is that we want them to win it. And the obvious answer is that they can at least get to where they got to last season, which was the semi-final. But I'm going to be honest with you all. Although Arsenal do look good, they do look strong, they are playing football, I wouldn't say that they are the favourites to win. I did say in my last podcast that Arsenal is not the favourite for the Premier League, neither are they the favourites for the Champions League. All these narratives, all these agenda are being built up by opposition pundits and fans and so on. They just want to pile the pressure on Arsenal. They just want Arsenal to feel that pressure of, yeah, you must do it this season. You must win. Nothing is a given. Nothing is just gifted to you. Everything has to be earned. Everything has to be worked for. And anything can happen. It's so early in the season. But they always do this. You see, all these pundits, I don't want to mention names, but you know the most obvious ones, they'll come out and they want to deflect from their own team's misery and failure and just pile the pressure on the opposition team or the team that's kind of challenging them for whatever. So they always want to pile the pressure on Arsenal, and they always want to make Arsenal fans look like they're deluded and they're this and they're that. I hope the Arsenal fans are learning, are starting to understand that you don't just win one game and then you go hoop-de-hoo, start celebrating like you won the league. But that narrative of trying to pile the pressure on Arsenal because they're playing good at the moment, anything can happen, guys. Even though we have a very strong squad and we have strength and depth, nothing is a given. Nothing is handed over just like that. Nothing is gifted to you. Everything has to be worked for, and it's too early in the season. But let's get back to what I was talking about. So in the Champions League, I feel like Arsenal they have the ability, they have the potential to reach the final and of course win it, and we all want that. But the favorites have to be PSG first. Then I'd probably say after PSG would probably be Barcelona. And then after Barcelona, I'd say it'd probably be Man City, Inter. And when I say Man City, a lot of people, they get a bit shocked and they get a bit kind of like, what? Manchester City? Yeah, guys, Manchester City are very lucky this season because they're going under the radar for everyone. And that's how I want Arsenal to be. Because Arsenal, when we got really close that season, when we were 1 or 2 points off of the league that season, that was us. It was Liverpool and Manchester City at the top. Everyone was talking about, putting the pressure on them. And Arsenal was just flying under the radar till we got towards the end of the season. And Liverpool just trickled down and fell off. And Arsenal went on this great run. And we got to the top of the league. And then eventually started dropping points to let Man City back in. But that season was great because we kept on going under the radar, which what is happening to Man City now. And Man City, the difference between Man City and Arsenal is Man City know how to get across the line. Man City know how to win. Man City have proven that they're winners. Yeah, they might have not won nothing last season, or they might have had a transitional season last season. Obviously, Rodri with the major injury didn't help out, but I feel like because they're going so under the radar, they're kind of dark horses in the Premier League. They're dark horses in the Champions League. Everyone's kind of writing them off. Everyone's kind of saying they're not the same. They're not playing the same. It's not the same defense. But you guys are forgetting two major parts of that. One, they have the best manager in the world that knows how to win, that has won, that's a winner, that doesn't go more than one season without a trophy. And they have a striker that is unplayable at the moment. He's in top form. Yeah, you can tell me what if he gets injured, and maybe then they'll look different. I don't wish that upon Erling Haaland. I think he's a fantastic, unbelievable player. He's a terminator, violator, menace. But having said all of that, Arsenal do have the potential. We do have the squad. We do have the possibility and the opportunity to get as far as we want to get. I'm not putting no limits to them. I'm not going to say to you, we're just going to get to the quarter and the semis again, or maybe just get to the final but lose out this time and win it another time. No, I was there in Paris in 2006 when, I thought we was going to beat Barcelona. I felt like we got robbed. A lot of people say I'm deluded, but that Jens Lehmann red card, and then that I think it was the Eto goal, or the other one, Balletti, when he scored, which seemed like it was offside, but there was no VAR back then, so they didn't rule it offside. They gifted that goal. But anyway, I don't want to go over that pain. So I was there in 2006, and we nearly got across the line with Arsene Wenger. I cried my eyes out that night. Yeah, I was severely hurt. Obviously, it was Barcelona in its prime. That was Barcelona when they were, that first or second year of proper European dominance. They had Ronaldinho, they had Eto'o, they had Messi, they had Ludovic Juli, they had, Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta. That team was absolutely ridiculous. And, we were playing with... Anyway, long story short, that was a painful night. But can Arsenal get to the final this season again? Yes, they can. Will they win it? I hope so. Are they favourites? No, they're not. There are better teams than Arsenal in the Champions League at the moment. And that's not just me deflecting to get the pressure away. I genuinely feel PSG, Barcelona have a slightly more... slightly better footballing team attacking wise, not defense. I know Barcelona leaks in goals. I know Man City leaks in goals. I've seen Paris leaking goals, even in the Champions League the other day against Leverkusen. I know they beat them by 7 goals, or 7-2, I believe it was. But it was 2-2 at one point until they kind of destroyed Leverkusen after that. So that's pretty much it. There's not much more to say about this topic. How far can Arsenal go in the Champions League? The sky's the limit. Hopefully they get to the final. Hopefully they win it. But are they favourites for me? No, they're not, guys. So there's no point dwelling on this topic any longer. I hope Arsenal win the Champions League. I hope we get there. But other than that, let's just focus on the Premier League and maintain. And when I say focus on the Premier League, I don't mean that I don't want them to focus on the Champions League. Don't get me wrong. I meant as in, let's just make the gap between us and the second and third position in the Premier League wider, bigger. Let's make it 7, 8, 9, 10 points like we've done before, and then maintain that so we don't have to worry about the Premier League. And if we're able to do that, then yeah, focus on the Champions League, because the Champions League is a cup competition. And I think in cup competition this season, over 2 legs, I think we can do it. We'll be all right. But that is depending on how well we're doing in the Premier League. If we fall behind in the Premier League and we go down to second and third, but the points difference is only 3, 4, 5 points between us and who's ahead of us, then I feel like we need to focus on the Premier League. Yeah, we've won it before, but this is our bread and butter. This is our main trophy. This is what you really want to win, to prove yourself worthy of being champions. And then after that, at least you can then call yourself favorites for the Champions League if you're still playing the same way, because then you're proven winners. You have the silverware to back it. And then yeah, I'll happily concede that Arsenal would be favorites. But right now, definitely not. But sky's the limit. And I hope we get there, and I hope we lift that trophy in May, guys. Other than that, let's move on to the next topic. Boom! Right now, I want to talk about the rest of the games a little bit. We're not going to take too much time, guys, because obviously I didn't watch all the games. There's only 2 games I watched over the 2 days. I watched the Arsenal versus Atleti, and then I done a hate-along the following day watching boring Tottenham Hotspur. Unbelievable how boring that game was. I'm sure Tottenham fans know. So let's talk about the results a little bit. Barcelona Olympiacos. That was another thing I forgot to mention in the first topic about Arsenal beating Atleti. I said to you guys in the beginning, before the game started, I was a little bit worried. It did have to do a lot with Barcelona also beating Olympiacos 6-1. We played Olympiacos, if you guys remember, a couple of weeks before that in the Champions League, and we just barely beat them 2-0. Yeah, we beat them, but they weren't playing that bad against us, and we had to force those 2 goals. Whereas Barcelona gave them an absolute hammering, an absolute drubbing, an absolute smackdown. in Spain. So Barcelona beat Olympiacos 6-1. I only watched the highlights. Fantastic goals. Marcus Rashford. Wow, what a difference a move makes from one club to another. That just shows you that something is really rotten at Manchester United, honestly. For all these players, even McTominay at Napoli, who else? Anthony, once he left. I don't know, you can mention most of these players that have left Manchester United, Højlund, McTominay, Anthony, Rashford, who else? What's his name at Chelsea? Obviously, he hasn't reached the heights yet, but Garnacho at Chelsea, Sancho hasn't really come back yet. But what I'm saying is that a lot of these players are doing much better away from Manchester United now. Someone has to look into that as to why that is. I don't feel like no one's really looking into that or even discussing why are these players like Marcus Rashford in particular, born and bred in Manchester, raised by Manchester United, came up through the ranks at Manchester United. How is it that he is not comfortable or happy in his own club, the club that raised him, but then goes to Spain where he's never played, goes to a whole different system, a whole different style of play, a whole different lifestyle, and then goes there and cements his place in the first team, keeping Lewandowski out. I know he's had some injuries, but he's keeping certain players out. He's doing well, scoring goals in the Champions League, in La Liga, assisting. You know, it's incredible. So well done to Marcus Rashford. I find that incredibly impressive from a mentality aspect. His mentality is unbelievable, I think, for him to have gone and done that. So well done, Marcus Rashford. I congratulate you on everything you're doing at Barcelona. Then Kairat Paphos, that was another early kickoff. I didn't even bother watching the highlights. It's a 0-0. There was a red card in the second half, I believe. I don't know either teams. I feel like these teams, I don't want to say they're ruining the Champions League. It's just that it's a bit of a nuisance having to travel to places like, Azerbaijan or Kazakhstan or this and that. I find that very strange that you have clubs like that in the Champions League, but I guess money talks. They want more football games. They want to make more money. UEFA's greedy like that, and there you go. There's not much else to say. So that was 0-0. I don't know what happened in that game. Jose Mourinho bringing his Benfica over to St. James Park now. St. James Park being a sort of fortress. I would have thought that they would have held Benfica to maybe a 0-0 draw or maybe nicked a 1-0 at home against Benfica, but boy was I wrong. Newcastle played Mourinho's Benfica off the park. Anthony Gordon, Harvey Barnes with his brace. Absolutely unbelievable goals from them. So that was great from Newcastle. Absolutely fantastic. I commend them for that win. I want to see how far they can go in the Champions League. That should be a debate for everyone to talk about, because Eddie Howe, he's done wonders at Newcastle. But I've always known Eddie Howe to be a great coach. When he was at Bournemouth, I knew he was a great coach. What he did at Bournemouth, bringing them up, I think, like 4 levels of English football leagues, all the way to the Premiership or the Premier League. That's already an achievement, and I believe that's worthy of a trophy in itself. I know every promotion is a trophy, but to have done that, he deserves everything, all the applause that he's getting. Absolutely fantastic manager, doing a fantastic job at Newcastle. Then PSV. Now this was the shock of this week, the shock of the Champions League. Now I'm not saying PSV is a bad team. They're the Dutch champions. So they are much better than Ajax at the moment, but I did expect Napoli to go there. You're talking about the Italian champions. I did expect Napoli with the players they've got, De Bruyne, McTominay, so on and so forth. With the players they have, I did expect them to get something out of that game. PSV destroyed Napoli. The score ended up being 6-2. I did watch the highlights. I know McTominay got one of the goals. I don't remember the goal scorers for PSV, to be honest, guys, but there was some wonderful goals, so go back and check that game out. So PSV 6 at the Philips Stadium, Napoli 2. Napoli getting a red card as well. Then we go to the next game. That was another fantastic game, unbelievable game, but this was sort of expected, more so than the PSV Napoli game, so it's not as much of a shock as the PSV Napoli game. But Leverkusen hosting PSG at the Bay Arena got slapped up by PSG. To be honest with you, it wasn't exactly like that from the beginning. It went 1-0 PSG, then 1-1, then 2-1 PSG, then 2-2. I believe there was penalties kept on being given here and there. Red cards were given. Both teams got a player sent off, so it kind of evened out. So at one point, they both had 10 players on the pitch and both had 2 goals. But literally after that, PSG, once I think it was Kvaratskhelia goal went in, just the tap turned on and goals just started flowing through and pouring into the goal left, right, and center. So Leverkusen got destroyed in the Bay Arena by PSG. It was Leverkusen 2, PSG 7. Now the next game was Inter Milan or Union Sangaloa against Inter Milan. I didn't even watch the highlights. I forgot to watch the highlights of that one, guys. I'll be honest with you. So it was Union Sangaloa 0, Inter Milan 4. I'll go back and watch that game and see how that went. But that's the score: Union Sangaloa 0, Inter Milan 4. But I expected that. I don't expect to see Union Sangaloa beating many teams in the Champions League. Maybe a Kairat, maybe a Pavos, but none of the big elite European teams. They're just not at the level yet. But Union Sangaloa do have Alexis McAllister's brother playing. So another McAllister's playing in Europe this season. So they got McAllister's brother there. So look out for that, see how he's doing. But there is another McAllister in Europe playing at the moment for Union Sangaloa, if I'm saying it right. So then in the Parken Stadium in Copenhagen hosting Dortmund. And Dortmund having this one player called Meche. Oh my days. What a player. Unbelievable, guys. Great player. Great win for Dortmund. Copenhagen 2, Dortmund 4. And Meche on the score sheet twice, I believe. But the goals, go back and watch these goals, guys. Dortmund always, I don't know how, but they always produce these players and they always produce these teams that are, there or thereabouts and competing, and it's just wonderful to see. And the football they play as well is incredible, guys. So go back and watch that. So Copenhagen in the Parken Stadium 2, Dortmund 4, and we look forward to see what Dortmund can do in the next game. Then we had Villarreal Man City. Man City, pretty straightforward for Man City. They went to Spain. Haaland scored again. Bernardo Silva was captain and scored. So yeah, pretty straightforward, guys. Man City won that game by 2-0. And like I said, they're going very under the radar. And like I said, they're flying under the radar at the moment, Man City. But guys, I'm telling you, they are favorites. They are favorites for the Premier League. They're favorites for the Champions League, in my eyes. Not favorites in the Champions League as in the number one favorites. No, I still feel like PSG and Barca are the number one favorites, but they are not far behind them. I think if anyone can do it with the vast experience that Pep Guardiola has, he always has a chance, and he's always among the favorites for anything. That's the God's honest truth. So Man City again with another win, 2-0. Then obviously we talked about the Arsenal game. Arsenal beat Atleti 4-0. Atletico Bilbao, who we beat as well, they won a game against Karabakh. I did see that they were losing against Karabakh at one point. I was shocked when I was checking the scores. I saw that Karabakh was 1-0 up, but then literally when I checked it at half time, I believe, or at the end of the game, I saw that Atletico Bilbao ended up winning at home, because that would have been a terrible loss for them at home if Karabakh went there and beat them. So luckily they came back and beat Karabakh FK by 3-1. Then Galatasaray showed Tottenham what to do with Bodo Glimt. Tottenham struggled against Bodo Glimt the other day, or the last time they played in the Champions League a couple of weeks ago. But Galatasaray showed you what to do, and they beat Bodo Glimt by 3-1. Then we come back to London, where Chelsea laid the smackdown on Ajax. Chelsea, free-flowing football, scoring left, right, and centre. Weghorst did score a penalty. Former Man United player under Ten Hag got a penalty, scored it, but they got a red card very early, so they got a player sent off. After that, Chelsea pretty much dominated at Stamford Bridge, just laid us some smackdown on Ajax. But like I said before that game, if you go watch my hate along, I did when I was talking about the games that were on, I did say Ajax, they're a shadow of their former self. They're nowhere near the strength to play in the Champions League. But we'll see what happens, see if they get to the knockout stages or not. But Chelsea battered them 5-1. Then Real Madrid, Juventus. Not much to say about that other than Bellingham scored. Juventus did play fairly well at the Santiago Bernabeu. But Real Madrid at home in front of their own crowd, they could not lose that game. This is a very classic Champions League game. Madrid, Juventus. They've played many a times over the years since the birth of the new version of the Champions League. So that was a classic Champions League match. However, it left a lot to be desired. There were some chances, not many goals, but Bellingham from a Vinicius Jr. ran into the box, took a shot, hit the post, bounced back towards Bellingham, tapped it in, 1-0 Real Madrid, and they took the 3 points. Sporting surprised me. That was a great game, great highlights to watch because I had Marseille pegged to beat them. I've been watching Marseille under Roberto De Zerbi. I've seen their players. I've seen how they play. I actually expected more from them against Sporting. I didn't expect Sporting to do that well, but they ended up beating them 2-1. Marseille did go 1 goal up. But somehow Sporting, Marseille got a red card, and after that red card, I believe Sporting just came back into the game and ended up beating them 2-1, which is good for Sporting because they were playing at home, but it's not so good for Marseille and Roberto De Zerbi. I do hope Roberto De Zerbi comes back to the Premier League. I think he's a fantastic coach, a great manager. He's doing a great job in Marseille. He's got them ticking, flowing, playing, all of that. It's just a bad loss that he took against Sporting. Now, the next game is the game I did the hate along for, Monaco versus Tottenham. I was hoping Monaco would lay some smackdown on Tottenham, but they didn't, and but they didn't do bad. Tottenham did really bad. They went away from home and didn't do a great job of it. Their players, half of them was sleeping. They didn't look hungry. They didn't look bothered. It's like they couldn't be bothered to have that many games to be playing, every 3 days, 4 days a game. Look like they're not ready for that. Very bad game, very boring. I must say, Monaco, I saw a couple of players there. Balogun, their striker, their number 9. I feel like, I'm not sure how old he is, but I believe he's fairly young. But I think he's got... he's going to come good. He'll get to a big European team, I think, at some point, possibly in the Premier League. If not into a Champions League team, definitely, I'm sure some Premier League clubs will be keeping an eye on Balogun. And there's another player there. It's difficult to pronounce his name, but I believe is Akliuchi. Very similar to my name, Big Luch, but his name is Akliuchi. He's a fantastic young player. I hope to see him in the Premier League or at a big European club at least. They have great potential, but they just don't have that strength all across. They have another player called Diatta, the Golovin as well. They've got a few players that are very good. Golovin, Diatta being very upset being substituted for Golovin. But it did make sense because Golovin did come in and make a big difference. Diatta, that doesn't mean he played bad. It just means they wanted to take a different approach, and when they did, the game did go in their favor at that point. So, Akliuchi, Balogun, Golovin, and Diatta, and then they got also their captain, very young captain, Tehrer, and they've got also Teze on the side as a winger as well. Salisu as a defender, very strong defender. So they do have a few players there, guys, at Monaco. I think that will do well with a Tottenham team, to be honest with you. I think Balogun will do much better than any of the Tottenham strikers. I think Akliucci will do much better than Xavi Simons or even, Bentancur or whoever. I just think the players at Tottenham, I think Tottenham fans gas themselves up more than they should really, because their players are mediocre players like Bentancur and whatever, even Xavi Simons, and they're not what they think they are, So anyway, very boring game, ended up being 0-0, so there's not much else to say about that. And then I believe Atlanta played Slavia Prague. Atlanta and Slavia Prague 0-0. I didn't watch the highlights for that one, so I really don't know what happened there, but that score was 0-0. And then Eintracht Frankfurt against Liverpool. Now, I was watching the Tottenham game, but I wish I did the Liverpool game. At least I would have seen some goals or some action. Mo Salah on the bench. Apparently, he's not happy about that. We'll talk about that after in the next topic. Eintracht Frankfurt went up 1-0, and when I saw that as I was watching the Tottenham game, I got excited. I thought, wow, it's going from bad to worse for Liverpool. I mean, it's like they're unraveling and being destroyed and being found out, and 4 or 5 games on the trot losing, that is crazy for Liverpool. But they ended up getting back with style. I've been saying Ekitike looks better than Isak, to be honest with you, and he's proven that once again, but not celebrating against his former team, obviously being bought from Frankfurt. It's a little bit understandable not wanting to celebrate against them. But yeah, they ended up beating them with style 5-1, and I believe Mo Salah was on the bench. So I don't know. We'll talk about and see what that's all about and figure out what's going on there. But Eintracht Frankfurt 1, Liverpool 5. So that was an easy win for Liverpool. It could be that they're going to bounce back now, even in the Premier League, and start playing much better. Maybe they're going to keep Mo Salah out of the team again. And if that proves to be the difference in the team and they start playing better again, then wow, I don't know, guys. It might be that Mo Salah will be leaving in January, possibly. But we'll talk about that in the next segment, guys. Let's just carry on now. So Eintracht Frankfurt 1, Liverpool 5. Then the last game, Harry Kane again, Bayern Munich 4, Club Brugge 0. So everyone knows I'm not a major Harry Kane fan for England. I don't support him in club football, so I don't really care what he does in club football. But I will say that he is an unbelievable striker at club level. What he's doing in Germany, hats off to him. Well done. I get frustrated when he plays for England. I'm an England fan, and I like to see England do well in football. I want them to win major trophies. I just think that they give him too many minutes where he doesn't produce anything for England. Yeah, he's got a good record for England, but nobody delves deep into those goals and actually finds out that most of them are in meaningless games, meaningless qualifiers, or we've already qualified and it's meaningless, the other team doesn't care, or it's penalties. It's never been in any major tournament, in any major game, like finals, semi-finals. It's, and I feel like for England, sometimes he can be a drag. Now, I hope that changes, and I hope in the World Cup he's going to be the top scorer. He gets the golden boot in the competition. I hope he scores the winning goal for England. I have no problem with that. So that all talk about, I'm just a Harry Kane hater and that. No, it's not. I don't care what he does in club football. He's not my striker, so I don't care how many he scores for Bayern Munich. I hope he scores another 100 for them. I don't care. But when it comes to England, I feel like he's not doing the business, and I'll stand on that. And I hope that changes. Bayern Munich 4, Club Brugge 0. That was expected. Bayern Munich trying to make a name for themselves in Europe again, or trying to reach the heights that they've reached before by winning the Champions League. So they want to, have a good run in the Champions League. And you can only beat what's in front of you. So Bayern Munich 4, Club Brugge 0. That's pretty much it. So that's all the games of this week. Yeah, please go and watch the highlights. Some great goals in the game. Great goals in the Liverpool game. Great goals in the Napoli and PSV game. Great goals in the PSG game as well. Like I said, Dortmund. The Arsenal game, the goals are fairly standard. The set pieces, obviously the corners, set piece again, ole as usual. So I'd say go and watch that, but they're pretty straightforward. And there's nothing you haven't seen before, but there is some excellent goals in the other games. So guys, go and watch that. And that's it. That's the Champions League roundup for all the matches, guys. Let's go to the next topic. Boom. So now we're going to go to the last segment of the podcast, the last topic, which is always at the end of every podcast, all the news around the footballing world, whether it's national or international. So there's only 3 or 4 things I want to talk about in this segment. First thing, I want to congratulate Sean Dyche on taking over at Nottingham Forest. Obviously, that whole debacle was a soap series. What happened with Nuno towards the end of last season, beginning of this season, then Ange Postecoglou coming in only for 34 days or something like that. Only had 4 or 5 matches, whatever it was, 5 losses on a bounce. Then him getting sacked. And now they've got an actual firefighter, not literally a firefighter, but in footballing terms, they have a firefighter as a manager now. He knows how to keep teams up. He knows how to drag them out of the relegation zone. He's not necessarily one of those managers that gets teams climbing high up in the table. I don't think he's ever gotten anywhere close to the European positions. But hopefully with Nottingham Forest, the players that they've brought in, the players that they have, maybe he can gel something together, and this might be the first time we see Sean Dyche actually taking a team up higher in the Premier League standing, higher than 11th, 12th or 10th. Maybe he can get into the top 10 with Nottingham Forest again, like Nuno did last season. Hopefully get them back into European position as they're playing in Europe. And also Sean Dyche, I think this is the first time, I believe, I might be wrong, but this is the first time he's actually going to manage a team in Europe that are playing in Europe. So let's see if he can win the Europa League. I do like Sean Dyche, the Ginger Mourinho, as we used to call him. I think he's a great manager, great coach. He had a bit of a bad time towards the end at Everton, but he did great at Everton with the points deductions, keeping them up, not getting them relegated. They were staring at relegation. Got them out of the basement of the Premier League, and got them to climb up a few positions. But towards the end again, it started failing a little bit, so they got rid of him. But now at Nottingham Forest, I do believe this is a good matchup for him. I think with the players they have, the players they brought him, and how he works as a coach, knowing the Premier League, knowing the English footballing way. And I feel like he will get more respect from the players than Ange Postecoglou did, which is a major importance when it comes to coaching and managing a football team, is that you actually get the respect from the players, and they look at you as kind of a father figure or a very good uncle figure that has their best interest at heart, and they know that, and they want to do good for you, rather than just mercenaries that don't care. And another manager sacked them, and another manager comes, just pay me my money and whatever. I don't like footballers like that, I must say. I feel like, once a club is paying your wages, there should be some sort of pride and loyalty towards that club, that you want to perform and do well for them. If you are the type of player that just wants to get wages, don't care what happens to the club because it's not your dad's club, or it's not a club you grew up watching or supporting or whatever, I find that absolutely disgusting. This is a company that's paying your wages, and they are giving you the opportunity to play in a major European league. So I feel like you should repay that, and at least you might not be the best footballer in the world, but it will show when you put the effort in. It will show when you run your socks off for the manager or for the team. So good luck, Sean Dyche. I hope you do well. I do like Nottingham Forest as an institution, as a club. They have great history. They had great managers before. They've won the European titles twice. So I hope they do well. I hope he does well. So good luck to Sean Dyche and Nottingham Forest. Now, the next bit in the news, mostly everything is about Liverpool in the news from yesterday and today. Obviously, Mohamed Salah was benched for the Eintracht Frankfurt game. I don't think he was happy about that because he instantly changed all of his social media statuses or pictures and whatever. He used to have everything Liverpool, so the background, I believe, of his Instagram and profile pictures was him in a Liverpool shirt, and the background picture was them on the bus celebrating the Premier League win. All of that's changed now. There's no more Liverpool references in any of his socials. Now you can read into that what you want. I'm reading into it that he is possibly going to leave in January. He's probably getting tapped up by Saudi again. They're telling him, listen, just come over here. We'll set you up. We'll give you a big mansion. We'll give you everything you want, plus money, plus this, plus that. And, him being Arabic and obviously possibly wanting to go back towards the Middle East, being closer to Egypt and his family over there, easier for him to travel back to Egypt for the internationals, and also him wanting to play. The thing is, though, I'm sure he wants to take Egypt into the World Cup or play for Egypt if they get into the World Cup. I don't know what their standing is at the moment. I heard they qualified, but I might be wrong. But for him to want to take Egypt into the World Cup, you'd want to be playing at a top club. Now, I'm sure even if he plays in Saudi, they'll still give him the opportunity because it's Mohamed Salah. But the fact that he's changed all his socials. Now, what is strange is he was benched, but he did come on, I think, after the 74th minute or so. They replaced Ekitike with Mo Salah. So he did come on and have the opportunity. The thing is, he's only had like 3 goals and an assist in his last, I believe, 12 appearances or 9 appearances or 10 appearances, whatever it is. So it's not good from that aspect. The only thing is I can say, and he hasn't scored since his last late winner against Burnley, which I believe was a penalty when that fella handballed it. But anyway, he hasn't scored since that last goal against Burnley, and obviously the fans are getting on his back. It's not that the fans getting on his back; it's more that the media and the footballing world keeps questioning, does he need to get benched? And the fact that Arne Slot listened to that and benched him, that's probably what upset him the most. Because a player like Mo Salah, even, and I heard Simon Jordan say this as well, no one's irreplaceable, obviously, but there should be some credit in the bank for a player like that, for a player that is able to change games. Yeah, he might not be in top form at the moment, but he's done so much for that club. Maybe Arne Slot should have waited after all this stuff about him died down before he benched him, as in he not bench him immediately when the media and everyone's talking about it, making it seem like you're listening to the media and doing what they want you to do. So maybe that's what frustrated Mo Salah. Maybe Arne Slot should have waited, let this talk die down, and if Mo Salah still was only producing half of what he can, or is not in his top form but is halfway there, maybe give him a rest then. Or maybe wait till like a more insignificant game to bench him and give him a rest, and then at least use the excuse of, okay, we're rotating players. This is an EFL. I mean, this is a Carabao Cup game, or this is an FA Cup game. We just want to see what other players can do, so we're just rotating the squad. But for a big Champions League game, immediately after all the media's talking about and all the Liverpool so-called legends are talking about, should he get benched, shouldn't he get benched, you can't feed into that. You can't then immediately the next game in a Champions League game go and bench a player like Mo Salah. That is a little bit disrespectful. I believe it should have been dealt with slightly better. It should have been handled slightly better, and obviously it's upset him, and it's made him take away all the Liverpool references from his socials. So that's a big drama happening at Liverpool at the moment. But Liverpool is a team in sort of a transition. I keep saying this and I keep reiterating this. Liverpool burnt out all their fuel last season winning their league. I believe if Jurgen Klopp was still in charge, they would have still won the league. Man City wasn't at the races. Arsenal wasn't really at the races. So it was really Liverpool's opportunity to win that league. So it doesn't matter who was in charge. I believe if Jurgen Klopp was in charge, he would have still won the league as well. It happened to be Arne Slot. So this season, we're really going to see whether he is that manager or not, because he's bought a few players in, which is his players, the ones he decided to buy, the one he decided he wanted. They've spent a lot of money on it, and now they're playing games with Mo Salah. So let's see what happens there. Like I said, they're running on fumes for me. I don't think they will. They will challenge. Obviously, they'll be there and thereabouts, but I don't think they will win. They might win a small cup or anything, like maybe something like that, or they'll be typical Liverpool and not do anything domestically and then end up winning Europe. They've done that before. They are an elite European team. They know how to win in Europe. They know how to win games over two legs. So I wouldn't put it past them that they domestically fall short, but internationally or in the continent end up winning. So that was the Mo Salah bit. The only other news out of Liverpool, and it's the last thing I'm going to go with because there's not much other than that. And then obviously what happened in Champions League. The only other bit I would say is Alexander Isak came off with a groin injury at halftime. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. I don't know. I don't actually believe that's true. I don't think he's injured at all. What I believe is they just feel... See, this is why I feel like this situation with Isak got handled a little bit better than the one with Mo Salah. I believe with Isak, and I could be wrong, but I believe this. I feel like they just feel that he's not getting to the form that he needs to get to. He is not getting to... he's not playing to the best of his ability. So what they want to do is they want to give him another little rest and just watch him over training and see if his form improves, and then bring him back into the fold, because obviously they got Ekitike raring and in form and scoring, so they can't really take a player out of a team that's actually doing the job just to give the position to a player that's not yet doing the job, but we bought him for a lot of money. Yeah, you've bought him for a lot of money, but the team comes first, not the player. So I don't care how much money you've spent on this player, you have to put the team first. I think Ekitike at the moment's playing better than Isak. I'm not necessarily saying he's the better player. I've seen more of Isak in the Premier League than I have of Ekitike. I just feel like in this moment of time, Ekitike is the better option for Liverpool, and I'm sure they've realized that as well. So they've had to sort of fake an injury in Isak to not make it seem like worse than it is. So to not put him down or embarrass him and make him feel a type of way that they've benched him again. So they're like, okay, no, it seems like you have an injury. You might need to give you a little rest. And look, by all means, he might actually have a real niggle in his groin. I just don't actually believe it. He's just come back. He had no preseason. I mean, where are you getting an injury from? I've seen videos of him training, pushing himself, doing things. So I don't know. I just feel like this is an excuse from Liverpool to try and paint over the cracks sort of that are happening there in that situation. But I'm sure we'll see him back at Liverpool. I'm sure we'll see him playing. But like I said, I feel like that situation got handled slightly better than the Mo Salah one. They should have just faked an injury for Mo Salah too, and said we worried that this niggle might turn into something serious, so we don't want to play him against Frankfurt. We feel like Frankfurt, this should be an easy game for the rest of the squad to win it. Kind of like, you know, although that sounds disrespectful on Frankfurt, but it's like you want to think about your own players and care more about their mentality rather than what another opposition team thinks of you or what you say. So I would have just used that as an excuse. Like, look, listen, we feel like Frankfurt is a game for the rest of the squad to play. We want to see what the rest of the squad can do in Europe. Also, Mo Salah might have picked up a small niggle. We don't want that to become worse. So we've benched him. We're going to give him a few minutes just to get a run out. And hopefully, you know, that niggle will go away and he can play against a Brentford on the weekend. Now, that's pretty much it. Are they going to play Mo Salah on the weekend? That's another question. We'll see, but we'll talk about that more closer to the weekend when we do the Premier League. Well, more close to the weekend tomorrow, I should say, when we do the Premier League preview show. We'll talk about that and see if they start Mo Salah in that game. So that's it, everyone. We've finished the podcast for today. We've talked about everything we want to talk about. Champions League week is over again. We look forward for the next Champions League matches. I believe we are playing Slavia Prague next. So Arsenal have Slavia Prague. We have Inter Milan, Club Brugge, and Bayern Munich still to play. But we're playing Crystal Palace at home on Sunday, and then we've got Brighton at home in the Carabao Cup, I believe it is, or the English League Cup. So there's a few games coming up. So I'm sure Mikel Arteta is going to rotate the squad, and we're going to see how everyone's doing. I want to see that game against Brighton in the League Cup. I want to see what team he puts out there. I want to see how good that. I want him to put out the second team, so not the first team. Let him put out the second team, like the Norgards, the Mascaras, the Hecapies, all of these players, the Ben Whites, everyone that's not playing regularly. I'm hoping he's going to put them on. Everyone else on the bench, let them get a run out and see how they cope and whether they can cope with another Premier League team. Because I know for a fact Brighton's going to put out their strongest team because they want to go far in the cup competition. They want to possibly try and win it, similar to what Newcastle did last season, similar to what Crystal Palace did last season. Both Crystal Palace for the first time and Newcastle for the first time in 70 years having won a trophy. So I'm going to love you and leave you guys. That's it. We're done for today. Tomorrow, look out for the Premier League preview show. And I can't wait to see you everyone on the weekend for the watch along on Sunday. I'm going to see if I can do a game on Saturday. I am working on Saturday, so that might be difficult, but Sunday definitely Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. I will see you guys there, and then next week for the podcast, and obviously the review show, or the post Premier League review show on Monday or Tuesday. So look out for that. And always, like I always say, I don't want to say this to you because it's cringing, guys, but please like, subscribe, share, remix, reload, repost, all of that. And thank you for being here, and thank you for all the likes, all the subscribes, all the comments, everything. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, and let me know if I'm doing a good enough job. If not, I'll hang up my boots, guys. Adios. One more thing I forgot to say. I hope your team loses.